I believe that wellness is all about balance, finding balance within mind, body, and in your everyday life. And it's an important aspect of building wealth and being abundant. And the global wellness industry currently stands at $6.3 trillion. That is how much money we are spending on a worldwide scale when it comes to our wellness and our well-being. Now, this is larger than IT, sports, and even the pharmaceutical industry. So definitely there is a growing trend, and this trend really did increase within and after COVID. And I think people just really realized during COVID that they were burnt out and so started to take more care of their bodies, their physical bodies, and also their mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And by the way, it's Morgan here. And one thing you should know about me is that I am obsessed with tea, but not just the kind of tea that you can sip on. The tea where we're spilling all things wealth and wellness and everything in between. So welcome to the greenest tea, where we break myths, pull up those receipts, and redefine money, wellness, and everything in between. Let's get into it. So I just wanted to share what I believe is going to be some of the trends that we're going to see for this year, 2025. And I'm also going to base it on some of the reports that I've seen online. So we're looking at Forbes, we're looking at the World Happiness Report. Wait, let me double check. The Global Wellness Summit, their report as well as to what they believe are going to be some of the top wellness trends this year. And of course, it's a trend. So things are always changing. People as a collective, we're always shifting what becomes important over time. And so, I mean, wellness is always going to be an important factor of our well-being. But what does that look like for us this year? Drop in the comments below if you agree with some of these trends, if you are going to try and incorporate some of these habits and routines into your life so that you can feel better overall in terms of your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others, and your relationship with just the world. So the first trend is gut health and natural foods. Because I don't know about you, but I've seen in the past few years, especially with COVID, more natural food aisles in different grocery stores. Like there never used to be an aisle dedicated to just like healthy products. I think that's wild to me. And obviously still just because it's a natural food aisle doesn't mean everything in there is still good for you. You still have to kind of be mindful of that. But I've definitely noticed an increase of that in most grocery stores that I go to now. There is a natural food aisle. And there are now grocery stores that are completely dedicated to healthy eating, non-GMO, fortified foods, less highly processed foods, materials. One of the grocery stores that I'm familiar with that I go to that's not necessarily in Calgary, but it is in Toronto is Healthy Planet. So Healthy Planet has been around for some time, but now you're seeing more franchise locations and they are steadily growing. And that to me is a clear indicator that people care about what they put in their bodies. People are caring more about what is in the food they are eating, wanting to remove as much highly processed and contaminated foods as possible so that we can live longer and feel better. Forbes is saying that gut health is even more specific avenue of nutrition that people are looking at. So not brain health, not menstrual health, but like gut health. And we know there are so many studies show the correlation between anxiety, depression, and your gut health. You are what you eat, literally and figuratively. When I eat a burger and fries, I don't feel the best after. It tastes amazing, but my performance levels decrease. I get foggy, brain fog wise, and a little sluggish, feel bloated, right? So like even just diets high in carbs, you'll notice that you feel tired, you feel sluggish versus less carbs, sugar, more plant-based foods. So that is something that I intentionally try to incorporate as much as possible. And you feel the difference, right? Like you feel the difference eating a salad versus eating like a bag of chips. And like I think it's so much easier to eat what just tastes good, and not that healthy food doesn't taste good, because there are some amazing meals that I make that are super nutritious, right? But there are foods that aren't that great for you that taste really good too, but we really got to think about long-term gratification. Yes, it's amazing, but what is this going to do to my body long-term? Moderation, right? Chips, for example. You could choose between chips made with a certain type of oil that is better for you, right? So chips made with canola oil, which is cheap oil, which is why most brands use that oil to make as much money as possible, using the cheapest products to make the end product. So if I'm, wanting to make tasty chips, but for cheap and sell them for way more, I'm going to use the cheapest oils, right? You might be paying more for a bag of chips that uses avocado oil or cooks with coconut oil. And it's totally up to you to say, you know what, like, yeah, okay, I'm going to indulge in something I probably shouldn't, but how can I indulge in a better way, right? As much as possible. How can I indulge in something that has the cleanest ingredients possible, right? So just being mindful of that, moderation. When we talk about gut health, we look at supplements like probiotics. I think people are paying a lot more attention to that. Forbes mentioned supplements for gut health, but like even in the way that you eat, so you can get that naturally. So I think in the past, a lot of people still rely on supplements to get their vitamin D and C and all these things, because our foods, depending on the foods you eat, are lacking so much nutrients. So I think it's important to take supplements, but also increase vitamins and gut bacteria by eating healthy to begin with, right? So that you don't need to rely on these manufactured pills to get those nutrients, right, in an artificial manner. So gut health is super important. I want to drop a plug on this brand called Magic Mind that I've been using. I'm going to go get it and show you guys the product. I already took this today. These are mental performance shots by Magic Mind. It comes with 12 super power ingredients to decrease stress, have a sharper mind, and calm energy. So I usually drink this before I'm going to do a task that is going to require a lot of focus and clarity. I drank this first thing in the morning because I knew that today was going to be a content creation day and I wanted to be in the best mindset possible. I've been drinking this for a week now. I already felt the difference in the first day. The first shot I drank, within the first hour, I just noticed my brain fog melt away. I felt sharper, my thoughts were clearer, I would come up with better ideas. I wasn't stressing as much. High energy. This is a supplement you can take to aid in your wellness journey. So definitely, I'm going to drop in the description below a special discount code that you can use to get your hands on this for a cheaper price than normal. And I highly suggest that you use this if you are someone that is struggling with just brain fog and like focusing, and you just want to sharpen your mind. Definitely go ahead, take a look at the link below, check out their website, and you can make a decision for yourself. The trend of logging off and analoging in. So it's the idea that we're kind of going back to the pre-digital age. I was someone who was born in the 90s. We had radio, TV, like some of your basic telecommunication devices, but we didn't have the internet in the way that it looked like today. Cell phones were like these massive things you had to walk around with, and texting didn't exist, social media didn't exist in the way that it does today. So the landscape definitely has changed, and obviously we can always argue for better or for worse, but we have seen, especially with youth populations, social media has really been more detrimental to our emotional and mental health. So I think it's something to be mindful of. This video isn't to demonize social media, but it's just to be mindful of the pros and cons, right? the disadvantages, the advantages. And I think something that we're going to see more of is people logging off, spending more time online. I think that's something that I already do in my own life, trying to be outside more, whether that's going for walks, planning road trips to go into nature, and also just even tech and certain devices that help you to actually get away from the social media addiction and how long we spend on our phones. So one example of this is a light phone. So I learned about the light phone a few years back, actually, when I first started my coaching practice. And the light phone is a reader type of interface where the lighting is a lot more dim. So it doesn't have that backlight that comes with most phones that keep you like alert and might even activate your fight or flight response system. That's why scientists and health experts always recommend like don't be on your phones a few minutes to an hour before bed because the light keeps you up. So their phone is created in a way where the light is very minimized, as well as you don't have access to certain platforms. It's a phone that allows you to text and call, but that's really at minimum what it's supposed to be. Over the years, they've added a few more adaptions because I guess people want it to be more like a phone, which was not the point of the light phone. Now they have, like GPS options. You can play music. I think the new version that they're coming out with the Light Phone 3 is now gonna have Wi-Fi. So it's really the idea that you can't use the internet. You're using the phone with intention to strictly just communicate with loved ones and get around, but the purpose isn't so that you are scrolling on your phone endlessly. There is no temptation to go on an app that is gonna force you to mindlessly scroll. I think we're gonna start seeing more devices, more technologies that come out that support that without the distractions that you would get from a normal phone with different apps. I really like that idea. I haven't purchased a light phone yet, but it is something that I want to invest in the future, just kind of have like a backup. This phone is great, the iPhone that I have, because I need it to like record, but there's always that temptation and that distraction. So I would eventually want to buy a light phone for that to be my primary device. Also, when we think about analoging in, the idea of an analog camera, right? So people are even going back to buying analog cameras. I know they're like cute gifts that people are buying family and friends, and being able to like instantly print a picture in real time, like that idea is really cool. These are very 80s 90s ideas, right? I'm seeing people bring back video cameras and camcorders. So I think people are realizing we can still have tech, but not in the way that it's used today, with the distractions and the addictions of apps and social media. So we're going to see a lot more of that, of people being intentional about purchasing these secondary, tertiary devices outside of our main ones in order to kind of log off. And even just bringing back certain hobbies and experiences that don't require the use of internet and technologies. Go back to how people were living in the 80s and 90s. What were they doing? What were the tools that they were using? Try to incorporate some of that into your life. I have a friend that's like really big into buying even like records. It's kind of like a cool aesthetic to have in your space. Even the way we consume music is overwhelming. There's like just so much artists out there and music out there. And I think we're just like hopping from, like, we're not even taking the time to appreciate the music that's in front of us and the music that we're listening to. I can't even remember the last time I was able to sit through an album just because of how distracted I am and how limited time I have. I haven't been able to create the space for that. So easy to have Spotify or Apple Music and like have, your music on shuffle instead of intentionally choosing to listen to an artist in a particular way. And with the record player, it's different, right? Like you have to listen to a whole album, you can't skip tracks. It goes from track 1 to the end. So you're getting this really beautiful experience. I realized I was not talking into my mic. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? So I believe that is going to be a really big trend this year for people making intentional time and creating environments to log off and tap back into the real world. Then we have slow travel. I've been incorporating this already, but like I said, I think it's just going to be even more pronounced. You're going to see more people just doing it, and especially with all these freaking like plane crashes that are happening, but the idea to travel in different ways, different modes that might take you more time to get to your destination. So, driving is something that people already normally do, but even thinking about taking a train or people going on cruises to see different countries instead of flying. Certain modes of transportation contribute more to global warming and climate change. Flying contributes a lot of CO2 emissions versus maybe choosing to take a train or even driving. So I think just being mindful of that, realizing I don't need to get to my destination right away. I remember when I was in Europe, I took the underground train from London to Germany. I forgot what the specific train is called in order to do that, but it was just so much more relaxing. Looking out at the landscapes and like taking the time to read a book or journal and like same things that you could do on a plane, but like I don't know, something about it, it's like it's just more peaceful. You don't feel as cramped and you get to see more, right? So I think just getting a bit creative and like how you travel and being mindful about it in terms of just like being able to enjoy the experience of travel and also in a way that's not negatively impacting the environment. And it's also cheaper. So if you think about like even ride sharing, there's an app I recently discovered called Papa Ride, right? So even instead of taking a bus, you can just carpool and actually get to meet someone new. So being mindful of the resource sharing economy and relying on people that already have access to certain modes of transport, I think can make things more accessible for everyone and allow you to really enjoy travel in a way that people don't often appreciate because we're just so bent on trying to get to whatever next destination as fast as possible. And if you think about it, essentially like that's what wellness is about. It's about slowing down, not about, you know, prioritizing productivity and profits. It's also being mindful of rest and caring for ourselves and for others. So the idea of slow travel, if you are someone who is big into wellness, like that is something that we also want to incorporate into our everyday or when we are planning specific getaways or special occasions. And the third trend that we are going to see is more tech in fitness. So this can look like even, not even just online fitness classes, because I think that was something that was really big during COVID, but, even technologies like Peloton kind of grew within COVID, right? This idea that you can exercise from home and you have these on-demand classes. So really incorporating tech into the overall fitness experience. There's so much more accessible and cheaper ways to get the same experience that you would get from a personal trainer in a digital format that's just as effective. So for example, I'm not gonna say obsessed, but I really love if I'm gonna do any on-demand, like at-home fitness, I go on YouTube and find like online fitness trainers. And even sometimes when I go to the gym, if I don't really know what to do, like what kind of routines or like reps and exercises, I will quickly search up Chloe Ting, for example. I've even done some of her challenges. It's another alternative. It's an accessible way for people who maybe don't have the ability to pay for guidance to get that help. Now you're seeing people bring their friends into the gyms and maybe doing that at-home workout, but at that gym environment and having that kind of personal guidance that you probably otherwise couldn't afford or would be accessible to you at this point in time. So less personal coaching, more online formats. Like I said, we really saw a rise of this, a lot of these wellness trends in COVID, but I think this year there's going to be particular more focus on this specific type of way that technology is being immersed into fitness, even just personal fitness devices. I've heard of so many devices that people are using now to track their overall fitness. There's apps, physical devices that you put on your body to monitor certain aspects of your health, your sleep, even your menstrual cycles. So these are things we're going to see more of, a lot more tech devices that are going to improve our overall physical, mental, and emotional health, which is really, really, really cool. 4, I'm gonna say day spas. This is something I've been seeing open up more, and I love it. It's become more accessible than the typical spas where in the past you didn't have all day access. It was a specific service like a massage or a facial, right? Now, what I've seen, and the first time I was exposed to this was a few years back, there was a spa opened up in Markham, Ontario, just a few minutes north of Toronto, right outside of like the downtown core, called Go Place. And it was the first time I realized like there was this concept of like this open 24/7 spa. Only this spa specifically was 24/7. It's a luxury experience where you can spend the day in different types of saunas, hot and cold therapies, meditation rooms. They have a gym, just a space to really lounge and relax. And I love that concept because sometimes you just want a place away from home, and there weren't really spaces to accommodate that. That intentionally created this aesthetically pleasing environment that forced you to relax. Of course, you can build that into your own home, but sometimes you wanted something away from your place of residence to do that. With Go Place, you pay maybe like $70. It's like a one-time fee, and you spend a certain amount of hours there. If you spend 24 hours, they charge a bit more, over $100. So normally what I would do is I would just set aside time, like a day, to usually during a week when it's less busy, and sleep there overnight. And this is the only spot I know of in Toronto where you can stay overnight. Over the past few years, I've started to see a lot more spaces like Go Place open up. So for my birthday, this past January, I saw on Instagram there was this Turkish bathhouse and spa that did the same thing. I think, you pay a one-time fee, $60, and you spend a certain amount of hours there. A lot of these spaces also have a lounge area where you can dine. So what happened on my birthday, I planned to go to this Turkish bathhouse because I'm like, it's different. I saw they had all the Turkish teas. Like, I'm really big on tea, and I just wanted a slightly different experience. So I got there, and there was like, it was on a Saturday. So that's why I say, like, I think these spaces are starting to become very popular. So you also want to be mindful of like when you choose to go. But my birthday was on a Saturday, and I wanted to relax on my birthday. So went to this Turkish bathhouse and spa. It was backed up. He was like, it's probably going to be an hour or more wait. I have 6 other ladies in front of you. So I was like, you know what? Let me go check out Go Place, knowing that Go Place is obviously going to be busy on a Saturday, 2 weeks into the new year. So I think people are still in that like holiday mode. Maybe people still are taking time off. I get there, it was like a 3 to 4 hour wait. I was like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like, this is my plan for my birthday. I'm probably just gonna go back to my family's house and just chill, I guess. Wasn't really the plan, but then I found another spa last minute. And I'm just saying this to show you that like there are more spaces opening up. I found this day spa where you can spend this like between 4 to 6 hours, and you pay one-time fee. Once again, this one had all-inclusive food. So some of them are starting to look different and offer different features than others, which I find is really interesting. When I first came to Calgary, I couldn't find anything similar to Go Place. I don't know if I just wasn't looking that hard, but now coming back, I was like, there has to be something in Calgary. And I noticed that there are like 2 to 3 spas now that have this like all day spa option where it's like, it's not just a spa, like I said, in the sense you're going for a specific service, but it's like an open concept spa where they have different types of therapies. So you have saunas, cold plunge, steam rooms. Those are usually like the main 3 or 4 jacuzzis. Those are like the 4 things that you usually would find. And you just literally lounge and relax for as long as they allow you to. And I think for the price point, so between $50 to $100 for like a couple hours, I think is much better than spending $150 on a 60-minute massage, to be honest. So I'm really excited about seeing these like open concept bathhouses, day spas, sauna, therapy spaces. There definitely is a lot of science around saunas. Nordic countries live and breathe saunas. Like, they sauna every single day, and the way that their stress levels are reduced, the risk of chronic illness drastically decreases. I believe, I don't know if it was Aristotle or Socrates, one of those Greek philosophers, who said like the way to wellness was taking a bath every day. And in obviously in Greek and in Rome, bathhouses were very popular, right? These common warm communal baths that people would go in to relax. So, like I said, there are different ways to do it, but something that I found that has been easy to do, especially if you're someone that like struggles maybe with more mindfulness practices like meditation and breath work, even if yoga is not your jam, physical therapies like saunas and cold plunges can be a great alternative and way for you to get back into your body and to ground yourself and to just feel better overall. So definitely don't sleep on it. This is going to be a big trend this year. And I love to see it. I love to see people taking care of themselves, prioritizing rest and relaxation, and not contributing to this fallacy of hustle culture and continuously having to be productive, because that is not normal. That is not normal to continuously be productive. You are eventually going to burn out, and we don't want that. The next trend that I see is going to be big this year is the use of AI and wellness tools. I cannot make a video on trends and not talk about AI, right? This is one of the biggest things to look at that is really transforming the world on such a huge level. AI is a great way to improve our overall wellness in another accessible and affordable way. One example of this is ChatGPT. ChatGPT alone is saving everything in my life. It's saving my emotional and mental health, my business. It's like a personal assistant. If you are not utilizing ChatGPT into your life, please start doing it in whatever capacity, because you can use it for everything. Now, I don't want you to use it to replace your critical thinking skills, right? Because I know, especially when it comes to business or people who are content creating, that's a whole nother dilemma, ethical dilemma that, people have with the use of AI and when it comes to creativity and stuff like that. But when it comes to like actually just strategy and planning, it is such a useful tool, and I definitely think people are going to be using it more when it comes to wellness. And this can be like how I mentioned already, like in technology, to give more personalized insights into your fitness routines, into your nutrition, your mental, emotional well-being. I talk to ChatGPT like it is my therapist, honestly, at times. Sometimes if there are like critical decisions that I'm trying to make and I want a second opinion, these are things that people would normally go to therapy for. And I still do. I still go to therapy, but I'm fortunate right now that my therapy is free. But for the people that can't access therapy because of the cost, AI is going to help with that. And not even just ChatGPT, but using this open AI platform and interface embedded in apps. There are apps now that are being created where, they'll help you to prompt writing material so that you can journal and reflect, apps specific to therapy related support. So many capabilities are opening up for the devices and the apps that we use to improve our overall well-being in whatever specific area of wellness that you are trying to seek help for. So definitely that is going to be a big thing. AI wellness tools, and take it upon yourself to look out there and see what's available. And I would say this next trend is customizable health testing. I read up on Forbes and they were talking about how there is a rise in diagnostic test kits. Think of even outside of 23andMe, because 23andMe is more like DNA testing to determine like your ancestry and where you're from. But think about something similar to that, but to look at specific health markers, right? By sending a kit to your home that tests your blood, and by testing your blood, it can tell you what your metabolism levels are at, inflammation, what chronic illnesses you're at risk for. People are getting into personal health assessments, especially in a day and age where access to healthcare is becoming increasingly unaffordable. And even just in Canada, our healthcare is public, it's free, but then the wait times, right? And even going to a doctor, I feel like the testing isn't as holistic as it could be. Like the things that they are testing for don't show you the bigger picture. And I would love to have a test where I can see where my stress levels are at, right? That's something that's really big for me as an entrepreneur. That is something, especially with my benign vasculation syndrome issue I talk about it in a video. I have this twitching issue that's gotten much better over the years because I've managed my stress levels. It would be really interesting to see what are my cortisol levels looking at. And that's not something I can necessarily get at a regular doctor's office on the spot, or even with the testing that they do every year I go and get my physical. That's not something that they pull up for you. So we have companies now that are diving even deeper and are able to bypass just the basic testing that you get within regular healthcare and allowing you to detect early signs of disease, right? And just really uncover areas for improvement. So you're going to see diagnostic testing for specific areas of wellness once again. A company that I'm familiar with is Insight Tracker. You pay for this annual membership that gives you insights. They send someone to take a blood sample, or you can set up a appointment with a doctor to get this blood sample that you can send to the company. They will do the assessments for you and send you the results. Based on these results, you have the information at hand to know how you can improve your overall health and what are the gaps, where are the areas that need more improvement. So that is something I definitely want to invest in at any point. And mind you, all these tools and resources I'm sharing with you, like, I'm not getting paid for any of it. I recommend you take a look at it. It is just something, like I said, that I personally am familiar with some of these brands, and they are on my wish list. So if they are on my wish list, I think I'm pretty intentional about the things that I put my money towards in terms of improving my overall health and wealth. So if you trust me, you should trust these products. I make no money from it. So if it's on my wish list, I think it should be on your wish list too. Okay, and that's it. That concludes my video for what I believe the top wellness trends are going to be in 2025. And I mean, you don't have to opt into any of these. This may not resonate with you, and that's okay, right? Just because someone decides to do something that's going to aid in their health and that's working for them, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you or it's going to be in alignment for you. Do some deep diving, check things out for yourself, and see if it's something that's going to add value into your life, right? And some of these things you don't really need to spend any extra money on. Like, for example, of your phone, like you have access to certain apps that can help track certain aspects of your health or improve performance, right? Maybe sometimes you have to, pay for like a premium feature, but you don't have to. A lot of these apps, you can even just with the basic free version, get a lot of information and support along your wellness journey. So, there are a lot of things that you can look at without actually having to put out more money than you normally would. And there are things that you already are paying for, but you can pay less, right? So when we talked about slow travel, and when we talk about, AI wellness tools, like these are things that can be done at a much more reduced cost. So I hope this video was helpful. Comment which trends you're excited about, which trends you're already doing, or you're gonna be putting more time and energy into as a way to improve your overall well-being for this year. And remember, this is the greenest tea, okay? This is like my podcast / YouTube channel where we talk about everything between wealth and wellness. Everything is intertwined. If you put in the effort to feel better mentally, emotionally, physically, you are going to see the results of that show up in your money, career, business, relationships. This is such important work. To care for others, you have to care for yourself. To have more than just enough, you have to know how to meet the requirements of having just enough by caring for yourself. And so this is really important work. This is lifetime work. These wellness trends aren't something you do once and that's it. These are things we have to intentionally and mindfully incorporate into our everyday as much as possible. Add some variety in there, right? Even for me, like I have routines, but it doesn't look like the same activity all the time, right? So, today I started off my day with reading a book. Sometimes I'll start off my day with doing a breathwork meditation. Whatever it is, you can switch it up, but like just having this vault of options for you to choose from over time is going to be incredibly worthwhile and incredibly expansive for your wealth and well-being journey. So keep pouring into yourself and the world around you. And if you love this video, please share it with someone who needs a little bit more wealth and wellness into their life. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, comment down below, and let's keep redefining what wealth and well-being really means. One cup of green tea at a time. Later.